All right. Hey there, y'all. Welcome. Today, my guest is Miss Katherine McCord. Katherine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am the president of Titan Management, which is a recruiting and consulting firm. We work on a national level, particularly in the IT and fintech realm, although we do occasionally branch outside of that as well. And I also launched Titan ATS a year ago, which is an applicant tracking system or HR software that is designed to remove bias in the hiring process and fire the resume.
Fantastic. And Katherine is local here in the Treasure Coast area. I met her out networking, and she has kindly adopted me and taken me to several local networking events, introduced me to her whole network, which I really appreciate. And as a side effect of hanging out with me, she kind of accidentally lost a whole bunch of weight, which is
I did.
great. So, full disclosure, she's not technically a client. She hasn't paid me any money. She hasn't had any coaching, any theta healing, but she does listen. So you've gotten some teaching. So yeah, tell us kind of like before you met me, where were you with your weight? Had you tried a bunch of things? Were you kind of just ignoring it? What was your before?
Before, I wish I had like a photo to hold up and show you. I used to be a big gym rat, believe it or not, and I loved being in the gym. But I unfortunately developed some health conditions that make that very difficult, including a seizure disorder. You don't need to be picking up heavy stuff when you might flop on the ground. So, so instead of that, I had just I walk a lot, which is great, but it doesn't really do the same thing. But the problem is I never changed my eating back. I never put my eating back to how it used to be. I still was eating like I was going to the gym. And then to make things worse, COVID hit. And yes, I already worked from home, but I was going out even less. And we moved my office to right by the kitchen. So I was just, every time I was going in and out of the kitchen, I was grabbing a snack and I was ballooning. And I didn't get horribly off, but I did get dangerously close to the 200 mark. I did. And I was just not feeling good. For me, it's never really a vanity thing. Although, I mean, I guess looking good is nice, but it's how do I feel? That's kind of how I gauge things. And I'm not a scale person. The only reason I even know how close I was weight wise is because of going to the doctor. But what happened was getting to know you is you just started giving me these little tidbits, and I started watching your videos, and I came to one of your speaking engagements and just listening to how you talk about things. And I would go, and you would give these little educational segments and success champions. And I would go, oh yeah, I do that. And sometimes it wasn't even necessarily relevant to eating, but I guess because of what you do, my brain would just kind of connect those things. And I just started shrinking, and I don't feel like I'm starving myself, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on the foods that I love. In fact, I just had two very gross Walmart burritos for lunch just because occasionally I need them, and they're very bad for me, I know, but occasionally
Again, Katherine is not a client.
Nor does she condone eating this kind of stuff, but I did it anyway. And because occasionally you just have to, right? But I have dessert occasionally. I still do all that. But because of the things I learned from you, I no longer snack every time I go through the kitchen. My eating habits are better. My portions are more reasonable. I'm really paying attention to why my body thinks it's hungry. Like you made a good point about sometimes your body just kind of gets these ideas, but you're not really going to starve to death. Like it's like, oh, we're going to starve to death because it's 5 p.m. and we can't wait till 6 p.m. We're definitely going to die. And if you just stop and kind of reprogram that, then it works. And now I am down to dress sizes, which is really lovely. And by the way, in a very short period of time, that happened within less than 2 months.
Wow.
That happened. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you're welcome. So it sounds like, it sounds like you had been at a pretty good, I guess, like maybe eating was here, but activity was here. So it was kind of balancing out. Then with COVID, which one of these did I say was activity?
Activity is that way.
Activity
You got the
here,
clapping
eating
hands.
here, activity goes down, right?
Yep.
Eating
Mhm.
stays here.
Eating stayed, and then it went up.
Yep. And that caused the weight gain. And then you have not made it back to the gym yet. But so instead of fixing it this way, you just fixed it this way.
And I did start moving more. I did
Okay.
start, like I get up a lot more from my desk. I do a few little exercises that I feel safe doing around the home. But for the most part, that's not what made me, I can tell you right now, that's not what made me lose the weight.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
helping my body feel less stiff. But yeah, no, it's just the changing my mind, like my mindset with the eating, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. And the thing with the exercise, right? Like moving is good for your body. There are reasons to move around and to exercise, right? But very few people really hit and especially sustain their weight goals because they're exercising all the time, right?
That's true.
It's so much easier and more fun to eat than to exercise, right? And
True.
exercising really, we tend to think of it calories in, calories out. And the math is really screwy there. Like in 10 seconds, you can eat hundreds and hundreds of calories, and then it takes hours and hours to burn off. So I am in favor of, like, yes, we need to move, we need to walk, we need to do some things because it feels good and it's good for the health. But to do it just for weight loss usually just leaves people frustrated and sometimes can make people hungrier. So for you, it was really changing the food. And it sounds like not so much what you were eating. Do you mostly eat the same kind of food?
I eat mostly, yeah, actually. So I still, because I'm kind of a like sandwiches or salads or soups for lunch kind of girl. And then I do with usually some fruit. And then in the evening, meats and vegetables. I love to cook.
Yeah.
So, or sometimes I'll do like a casserole if it's something relatively healthy, right? Relatively healthy. So I didn't really change that much. Now I do eat less dessert. I'm not eating it every night, which is probably smart. So that's more of a treat now, but I didn't stop eating sweet.
Yeah.
And I still, everything else is still the same. Everything else is, I stopped the snacking. Which sounds horrible at first, like when you first hear like I can't stop snacking, I need my snacks, but it's not that bad. And then watching the dessert and just eating it less. And then also making sure that I do something for my body in the morning. You had mentioned that at one point. And so I don't always, because I'm actually kind of nauseated sometimes if I eat breakfast, like full on breakfast, but I'll have like a little yogurt, or I'll have like, I don't know, a glass of milk and a fruit or something. I don't know, just something along those lines, just to kind of break the fast and just let my body know we're not starving. We're okay.
You're okay.
You can do your regular thing. We're not going to die. We're okay. So just kind of giving better communication to my body really has made a difference.
Yeah. So a little more movement, but nothing crazy. Basically the same kinds of foods. What about the same quantities of foods? Have you changed the portion sizes?
Nope.
No. Okay. Yep. No, this is good news. People are watching this and they don't believe you, just so you know.
I know they don't. If you ever want to see how I eat, and actually I get teased about how I eat. I just need everybody to know that I eat way too fast. I have ginormous portions that are like flopping off of my plate sometimes, not always, but typically I have I cover my plate, but it's not like, a mound.
Yeah.
But it really is that your body needs and I read about it after you even talked to me about it, but it's just to be like, man, this is like crazy how easily this works. Just giving your body that stability and consistency of knowing when it's going to get its nutrition. I even, like I said, I eat fruit at the same time. I let it know at this time, you're going to get this. Your body, just so you know, I got you. Don't worry about this. And that's really helped. That's really, really helped. On days where for some whatever reason I'm thrown off from that, I do not feel as good. And my body goes into, I'm gonna starve and die. But a lot of it's just that consistency. It's just that, and the stopping snacking, you do not realize how many calories. So I just at one point, I was like, I'm gonna count up sugar and I'm going to count up calories that I was eating with my snacking. And the numbers were super upsetting to me because turns out, especially on the sugars, and people don't realize, and I count all kinds of sugars, everything that your body processes as sugar. So not just when it says sugar, but everything that your body turns into sugar. I was eating something like 56 grams of things that my body identified as sugar, and about an extra 800 to 900 calories a day.
Wow.
So it was the snacking.
Yeah.
That just killed it. Like it was just awful. So now that's poof out of my life. And it took me a week for my body to adjust. It was not even that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I don't
and
want
was the snacking between breakfast and lunch, between lunch and dinner, after dinner, all of the above?
Oh yeah, after dinner. And that's the worst time to do it, by the way. That is the worst time to do that to your body. And that's when I was doing it.
Were you snacking? So you weren't snacking during the day beforehand?
I was doing it all. I was just snacking. I was just
okay.
After lunch and after dinner. Those are the two.
After lunch and after dinner. Okay. Which makes sense because there's usually not that much time between breakfast and lunch. And most of us generally, honestly, don't get hungry. You might eat food because it's there, but it's for me, it's like that mid-afternoon dip. And then I've pretty much gotten out of the after dinner snacks. So
I will tell people this too, because I think this is very important to how I've controlled my health and my weight both. So I cut out sodas. And even anything caffeinated from coffee to tea is very limited for me. I'm looking at about once a week, I have either coffee or tea.
And that is not something that I require of my clients.
I know. I want to put that out.
We don't want to scare the people, but I know you have a lot of like sensitivities. And so if that's helping you feel better.
It can also be messing up your stomachs and you don't even realize it. So all I'm saying is experiment and just kind of see. Now, not tea so much. Tea, you're usually fine, but coffee can actually really be messing your stuff up and you don't even realize it. So maybe just be a little, and especially those espressos. I know people are like, I have one coffee a day with 5 espresso shots. You don't have one coffee a day. No.
You have one cup with 5 coffees in it. Yeah. And like God knows how much sugar and dairy and all the other things. So the cutting out the sodas, that was since we started not working together, right? Like that was before?
That wasn't always. And that was the first thing that helped me not balloon so much and not to be so unhealthy. That was the first thing I ever did for myself.
So that kept you from gaining as much as you probably otherwise would have during COVID. Because the liquid calories are super dangerous.
Yeah. I also
don't even feel full afterwards. You don't feel like
I also don't drink anymore, which I also am not necessarily advocating, but I do. That's for medical reasons, but I don't. I don't drink anymore. So that's, and I will say this, if you cut out cocktails and stick to like a red wine or something like that, you'll do a lot better.
Yeah.
But beer and cocktails,
there's a lot of sugar in those mixers. Yep. So that was all stuff you were doing before though, the drinking.
That part,
So in terms of what you changed to lose this batch of weight, it was really, like you said, the snacking. Beforehand, what was your favorite? Scheduling better. Yeah, the consistency. So let's talk about the scheduling. Why do you think that helps so much? Do you think it's like body knows that you're not going to starve because food is coming, or is it like mental? You shut it down because you're like.
It's both. So your brain likes to be, and this is interesting because a psychologist that I know told me this part. Your brain likes to know what's going to happen. It feels more at ease. It's just like how people that don't calendar themselves a lot and don't have a lot of structure to their lives are always like, and they have a lot, just kind of tend to be a lot more stressed out. It's because their mind doesn't know what's going to happen. And so there's just a lot more unknown. And so that primitive part gets very, things are scary. And then the aspect of your body does go through cycles, right? It's just like a sleep cycle, your body goes through a cycle too. And it needs the digestive part and it needs to know when it's going to peak and all of that. So I tell my body, I need you to peak in the afternoon. So I'm going to give you some good natural sugars at lunchtime. And I have a very early lunch. I do 11:30.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you this to get you through my busy afternoon. And that's because that's when I tend to have more of my calls and stuff is in the afternoon. And like my speaking engagements, all that all tends to be in the afternoon. So I need to be more up. So that's what I've trained my body to do. Morning, we're just kind of building, we're just kind of waking up, then we get this big, strong rush. We do this. Then at night, we get this other, like the vegetables, we wind down, we go to sleep, that kind of thing. So it's very, very structured. And I also never eat anything at all. And this is new since you. I never eat anything at all after 8:30 p.m.
Ooh, okay.
At all. And I try to cut it off by 7:30, but sometimes that just, maybe you're out to eat or something like that, and it just doesn't quite work out that way. But I 100% cut everything off by 8:30 because I go to bed by 10:30, and I want to make sure that my body is digesting properly and getting everything that it needs, because you digest better sitting up, and also your body goes into a completely different mode when you sleep. So if you want to best digest your food, eat way before bedtime.
And that works out great because we're in Florida, so everybody's eating at like 5 p.m. anyway.
Yeah.
All of the happy hours and the early bird specials. All right. Yep. So let's go back to the snacking. When, not to like get you juiced up for it, but when you were snacking, was there one thing that was your favorite? Was it like Oreos, or was it a lot of different things?
A lot of different things. I crave beef jerky sometimes. This stems from, I used to live by a beef jerky outlet store in Texas.
Of course they have that in Texas.
They do. It was half a mile from my house. And so I always had a lot of beef jerky. So I crave beef jerky. I always crave a lot of salts. That's actually for a medical reason, but I so a lot of salty things like chips, pretzels, that type of thing. Not really sweets. I'm not a sweet snacker.
Yeah.
That's not me. It's a lot of salty.
I definitely find with my clients, there's two camps. There's the sweets, the I love sweets camp, and the salty crunchy camp.
Yes. Yeah.
Although my theory, and I need to do some more reading and Googling, my theory is inside your body, they kind of, except for the salt, they kind of turn into the same thing, because it's still that triangle of the sugar, salt, and fat. It's just different percentages.
To your point,
yeah,
a lot of things like chips and all of that, because of all the carbs in them, they do break down. Your body does process them as sugar. So actually, yes, to your point, there's a lot of link to that.
Yeah. People are like, yay, I made a really good choice. I had pretzels instead of candy, which if all you care about is the sugar, if your goal is to cut down the sugar, right, like that could be helpful. But that white flour turns very quickly into sugar in your body. So as far as your body knows, you had sugar either way. It's just like maybe your palate that you
yeah.
Yeah.
You just, it is just learning a lot more about your body and which I'm a big advocate of anyway. Know your body, people. That helps you in so many ways. But really just, that's been the biggest thing for me, is just taking that to the next step with my eating. And now I'm just I hate to use this word because it's so hippie, but it's so true. I'm very mindful
yeah.
of what I'm putting inside of my body. So yeah, it's really made a difference, and I feel a lot better, which for me is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. So with the snacking, because, and this is the thing I like about starting with cutting out snacking, is because I am not on team starve yourself. You and I have talked about this. I like the food.
And
I like the occasional.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah. So don't tell anybody, but Friday we had pizza. And it wasn't cauliflower crust, some kind of communist pizza. It was Papa John's. Now, if you,
for sure.
Yeah, if you're in like a real focused weight loss phase, pizza is not recommended, but with everything, every now and again. But that needs to be like the rare exception, not like every day or every week. So I would much rather. Right. So you're still eating basically what you were eating before.
Oh yeah. I have pasta. Yeah. I have pizza, not all that often, but I do have pizza. I had gross burritos at lunch that tasted awesome, and I'm definitely going to pay for later. And I love fruit, and I do love dessert. I
Yeah.
didn't when I was younger, but I do.
Yeah.
And I have it. I
Yeah.
have, and I also, and this is the challenge for me. I don't eat all of the package of whatever it is that I'm eating. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. Because I'll not even thinking about it, just sit there and
Yeah. I don't know
shove
why
it
on the
away.
Thin Mints, it doesn't say serving size one sleeve. Like,
Because it
that's
definitely is. That's definitely a serving size for Thin Mints. 100, especially if they've been in the freezer.
obviously that's the way they're packaged.
100%. I'm like that. So
Yeah.
kind of my vice that's super unhealthy is those strawberry wafer cookie things that have like the fill. They look almost like a Twix, but it's like a thin wafer and then strawberry filling. And
Yeah.
there's this one brand in particular, and it's like crack to me. And I will just sit there and just shove these things in my face, and I can't help it, and it's really bad. So I try not to buy them that much because it never goes well for me. But I still eat these things. I
Yeah.
just have to control it, and it's so easy. Like I said, it took me about a week to get used to eating like this because it's not the big adjustments. I've done the big diets. I have.
Yes. Yeah.
I have done that, and it's never going to stick because you're miserable, you're unhappy, you don't get to have what you want. It's too much
Yeah.
planning, too much thinking. This took me a week to get my brain to go, oh, this is what we're doing, and I'm okay. And the reason is that my body was understanding, oh, okay, I'm okay, and it wasn't
Yeah.
giving responses. And I suddenly realized that officing outside the kitchen does not mean you have to eat in the kitchen every time you walk through, which is quite a revelation for me. Um, but just these very, very simple things
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
really made a difference.
And,
It
if
really,
somebody is like trying to lose the last 3 pounds, they've probably done all the obvious stuff. So they may
you
need
need
to
these
get
little
a
things.
little more persnickety. But for somebody that's been kind of like eating whatever on and off diets over the years, those little consistent, sustainable changes make such a
Yeah,
big difference. And I think part
no,
of the
all
reason
little.
this, yeah, yeah, I think part of the reason the snacking is so big, and this is actually this book right here, if anybody wants to read it, by Dr. Jason Fung, The Obesity Code. He talks about that importance of letting your body, right? Everything is cyclical. It's not just women in our monthly cycle, like we have cycles for everything, right? There's like awake and asleep, and your body wants to go through these cycles. So when you eat and the insulin goes up, you need to not eat so it can come back down. Yeah. And this is these people, right, that have which is almost everybody our age and older. When you go to the doctor and they tell you not to eat before you come in, and then they're like, oh, you're pre-diabetic, your fasting blood sugar is high. That's why, because we've been like jacking it up and keeping it like sustained and high for
Yep.
so long that your body just can't cope. So you need those
It's
down
out. Yeah.
periods. Yeah. Yeah. And if you can just do that, it sounds like you have a little bit of breakfast. You have a substantial lunch with some fruit in it to kind of get you amped up for the performance time in the afternoon, like right now.
And I have my carbs with my sandwiches and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
need that energy in my body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the evening, something a little like
Yeah. I'll have salmon, I'll have
meat and
steak, I'll have tenderloin, I'll have,
yeah.
and then veggies. Sometimes I make a pasta, not gonna
Yeah.
lie, pasta, but it's, but it's relatively healthy stuff,
Yeah.
now the meat and vegetables is super healthy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not complicated. I still cook with butter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still, I mean, you've seen how I cook.
Yeah.
It's, I still cook like a Southern woman, but it's just when you eat and how you eat, and it makes all the difference.
Yep. Yep. So if you're watching this and your brain is like, I don't get it, does not compute. It's okay. You're fine. Like Catherine's potty, you're okay. Don't panic. So on January 19th, I'm actually going to have a webinar, and that's going to be my topic. It'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern. On my regular Zoom link, I'll be sure and post that on Facebook and various different places. You can email me, lisa@lisajuke.net, if you want to get on my email list and make sure you don't miss that. But that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, is this idea of when you eat matters. So you can
Yes.
still have some fun and naughty foods, maybe not as much, maybe not as often, but still have the fun and naughty foods. And just by giving yourself some time in between meals to let the blood sugar drop, let your body pull from the fat stores like it's designed, can make such a big difference in your weight. So you get out of that feeling of deprivation, right? So if your body is like, oh God, we need a snack, you're like, dude, it's okay. We're going to eat in an hour.
Yeah.
It's okay. Go to the thighs. They're ready for you. Makes such a big difference. So yeah, definitely tune into that. And Katherine, any last thoughts before we close out? Anything you want to be sure to share that you haven't?
I mean, honestly, guys, I am not a go listen to a coach person. I am notorious for making jokes about about that type of thing. But in this particular case, I was proven wrong, and I will tell you that it works. The theory behind it is very practical. It's very medically based. It's something I even discussed it with my doctor, and she thought it was great. So it's something that is very feasible, and it's something that's easy and not something that's going to uproot your life. So just remember, don't starve or puke. Call Lisa Duke.
Oh my God.
I had to do it.
We need to get it embroidered on t-shirts.
We will. That's the accidental tagline I created for Lisa.
It's true though, right? Like, I like food. We're going to be eating the food. We're just going to make some different choices, and timing is an easy one, right? So it's not necessarily right. If you can still have, like, I still have a good breakfast. I don't actually have breakfast because I'm never hungry in the morning. So it's easy for me to cut it out. But I have a good lunch with some fat, fiber, protein, same thing, big dinner. Honestly, sometimes I still cheat in the afternoons, but nothing before like 11 and nothing after dinner. And just that right there has made such a huge difference.
Yep.
And letting myself like actually have a meal, right? Because that's the other thing is we like, oh, I'll have 2 leaves of kale for lunch. No, girl, like get you some fiber in the vegetables.
I would stab someone. I would legit stab someone if they tried to make me eat like that. It would not go well.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your help and for helping me be more healthy and therefore more happy.
And I'm totally happy to take a whole lot of the credit, but I also want to acknowledge you, right? Because lots of people, have heard me talk. Lots of people have access to the videos. It only works if you actually implement. And I will say, if anybody's watching this and has trouble with the implementation phase, that's where the coaching can really help. So if you can watch this, run with it, knock yourself out. If you get stuck, if you're feeling kind of whiny, if you need help, that's where the coaching and the theta healing can really come in, and that one-on-one support can make a difference. So I'll see everybody January 19th at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to go ahead and start now, you can just email me, lisa@lisaduke.net, or you can just schedule a time for us to talk directly on my calendar. That's lisaduke.net/schedule. So thank you, Miss Katherine. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you later.